My girlies with irregular period, you need to take note of these days of your cycle length for at least a period of 6 months before you will be able to learn how to before you'll be able to calculate your cycle length correctly. So now Mrs. Megan now took note of her period her period date and cycle length for the last 6 months. So Mrs. In one of the videos I made, I think about 2 to 3 months ago, where I talked about knowing your safe days to avoid pregnancy, I focused on those that had regular cycle, ignoring those that have, not really ignoring, I didn't do that intentionally, but a lot of questions have been coming in from that video. That's like one of, like, I woke up each day to questions upon questions regarding, oh no, Smab, sorry, I just saw my period on 18th of this month, and last month I saw my period on 15th of that month, and the other day was, and the other last 2 months I saw my period on 10th. Is that normal? What am I going to do my ovulation period or my filter window? I strictly made that video, not really strictly, but I kind of like focused on those with regular cycle. I didn't know that questions will arise regarding that video. So on today's video, we are going to be focusing strictly on those with irregular cycle. Yes. For example, meaning I can actually see my period for the month of May. Sorry about that. I can see my period for the month of May, let me say on 24. Month of June, I'll see my period 27th, and the upper month maybe 20, 21, and so forth. Meaning the days on which I'm seeing my period or which my period is starting is not constant. For some persons with regular cycle, you can actually see their period every 19th of each month, and some persons are just like, once 19th is coming, oh, they know, oh, I'm about to see my period. Do you understand? Why for some persons their period is irregular, their cycle is irregular, making them to have a cycle length that is different. Their cycle length is irregular also. So I'm going to focus on those persons that, if for example they see their period 18th of this month, next month they are seeing their period on 20th, the upper one they are seeing it on 21, and so forth. So we are going to be focusing on how to calculate your fertile window or your fertile period, knowing your fertile period now for those of you with irregular period. First is first, I want you to understand that before knowing your ovulation period, your fertile window, or your fertile days, you need to understand your cycle length. I will leave a link on that other video I made so you understand better what I'm talking about. And remember I said to know your cycle length is simply if, for example, I said seeing my period on 3rd of May and my next period came, let me say, on 31st of May. Now, to know my cycle length, I simply will start counting which is the first day of which I saw my period, which is the first day I saw blood, to be my day 1. The second day, my day 2. Day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So I'm going to be calculating from the first day I started seeing my period to a day before my next period. Yes. See, I don't want you to watch this video hurrying. Take your time, pause it, rewind, take your time and digest it, because the number of questions I got on those videos, a lot of persons were not getting it. I can't believe that a lot of persons still don't know how to calculate their ovulation period or know their fertile window. So please just watch me closely, please. I'm going to take my time and explain it. You are going to learn it. Nurse Marv is going to teach you. Yes. So on third being the first day I started seeing my period, first day of my period I started seeing blood. And the other time again I'm seeing my period was 31st of next month. So I'm going to start counting from this on third being my day one to a day before my next period. Simple. This is my day one, day two, day three, day four, day five, day six, day seven, day eight, day nine, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So on 30th now is a day before my next menstrual cycle begins. A day before I want to see my blood again for my next menstrual cycle. So your cycle length is calculated from on third to on 30th. You are not going to include the first day you are seeing your new cycle length. No. And we are having a 28 days. Meaning Mrs. Joy has a 28 days cycle length. So as Mrs. Joy has a 28 cycle length, we are going to now know when Mrs. Joy's fertile window or fertile period. This is for those with regular cycle. And to know Mrs. Joy's fertile window, fertile period, we are simply subtracting 28 from 14. And this is giving us 14 days. If, for example, Mrs. Joy's cycle length happens to be 27, I will subtract 27 from 14. If it's 25, I'm subtracting 25 from 14. So when we subtracted 28 from 14, we have 14. So this 14, I'm going to count 14 days. Remember I said this was the first day in April, so this is my day one. So we are going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So on 16th is my day 14. So on 14th day, which is 16th of May, Mrs. Joy is likely to ovulate. Yes, she's likely, ovulation simply means release of egg from the ovaries. So she's likely to ovulate on day 14, which is 16th of May. So now we are going to count 5 days backward and let me say 5 days forward again, or maybe 3 days forward. Yes, because we know that this male sperm has the ability of if a male releases sperm, it has the ability of, let's say, being alive for up to like 5 days. If, for example, I have 5 days prior to this my on this to this 16th, my chances of getting pregnant is high. What I simply means that if I should have sex around day 12, on the 12th of May, and my ovulation day is 16th, I can become pregnant. Yes, because we are going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can become pregnant because if I should have sex on this day, unprotected sex with the opposite gender on 12th of May, this sperm has the ability to still remain alive or motile till my eggs will be released on May 16th. So in as that, we are going to count the fertile window now from on 12. I will simply advise like from on 12 to on 19. Mrs. Joy shouldn't have unprotected sex during this period. 5 days before ovulation period, because we will assume this is her fertile window, because if she should have sex on 15th and egg is being released on the 16th, she will get pregnant. If she has sex on 14th, she will get pregnant. She will get pregnant 5 days. But you see, from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and from 20th, 21, other days are safe days. She's free to have unprotected sex during these other days and she won't get pregnant. Yes. So now, back to my sisters that have irregular cycle. Those whose their cycle length varies. Yes. And I want you to always remember that a normal cycle length is between 21 to 35 days. So this simply means that if you as a lady or as an individual, you have a 28-day cycle length, a 27-day cycle length, a 29-day cycle length, your cycle length is still normal. Your cycle length is still normal because it all falls within this range of 21 to 35 days, meaning your cycle length is normal. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. But whereby it falls below 21 days and above 35 days, you need to see your doctor. As you can see, Mrs. Joy's cycle length was 28 days and it fell within this 21 to 35 days. Her cycle length is normal. So if, for example, now Mrs. Joy's cycle length now is 36, 37, she needs to see her gynae or her doctor sharply, quickly. Yes, because that isn't normal. And to my girlies that have irregular cycle or irregular period date, whereby you see your period this month on 16th, next month you are seeing it on 23, next other month you are seeing it on 24. If you should calculate your cycle length, just as I did for Mrs. Joy, your cycle length still falls within this 21 to 35 days. Trust me, girl, you are absolutely fine and there is nothing wrong with you. Irregular periods, irregular cycle length could be as a result of stress. Can be a result of mental stress, physical stress, social stress. It can also be as a result of maybe an acute illness like fever. These things can tend to change your cycle length. Yes. Or if you're on any hormonal contraceptive or any hormonal drug, they tend to also affect your cycle length and causing the date to change. That doesn't mean, oh, there is something wrong with you. Trust me, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. This is changing due to maybe an underlying acute illness, stress, mental stress, like I earlier mentioned, anything at all that tends to alter your hormones or change the body's way of response is going to affect your cycle length. It's going to affect your period date. If you have like fever this month and last month you saw your period on 28, and you see your period now on 30th, trust me, that fever just made the cycle length or the period date to shift, to change. There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. And now back to my girlies with irregular period. That's our main topic for today. So if you're having an irregular period, you should take note for at least 6 months the different days on which you saw your period. If, for example, January you saw it 26, 27, then February you are seeing it 28, take note of at least 6 months. For those 6 months while you are trying to learn, play safe, have sex with unprotected sex with maybe condom, have sex with your opposite gender with condom, and just try as much as you can to avoid pregnancy until you understand your cycle length. As I'm about to break it down, trust me, you are going to learn today how to calculate your cycle length. Now, this is like a cycle length of let's say Mrs. Megan. No, we calculated before for the cycle length of Mrs. Joy with a regular period. But now we are going to be calculating for the cycle length of Mrs. Megan. So Mrs. Megan, December, saw her period 23rd of December. January she saw it 20th, February was 19th, March was 22, April was 17th, May was 18th, and June was 20th. Remember I said for my girlies with irregular period, you need to take note of these days of your cycle length for at least a period of 6 months before you will be able to learn how to before you'll be able to calculate your cycle length correctly. So now Mrs. Megan now took note of her period her period date and cycle length for the last 6 months. So Mrs. Megan now saw her period, just as earlier mentioned, December 23rd and January 20th. And remember I said if your period started December 23rd, it's your day one. And if your next period comes like January 20th, So to calculate your cycle length, now we are going to calculate from December 23rd. You are going to count the number of days from the first day you started seeing blood to a day before your new period date, a day before you are going to start seeing another fresh blood. So we calculated from December 23rd to January 19th, which was a day a day before Mrs. Megan started her new menstrual cycle. She now had a 28 days cycle length. So when Mrs. Megan started her new period date now on 20th, and she saw her next period now on February 19th, so counting from January 20th to February 18th, we had a 30 days cycle length. So when we calculated from February 19th now to March 21st, we had 32 days cycle length. See, remember I said from the first day you started seeing your period to a day before your next period. You're not calculating to the day of your next period. You can see I'm doing December 23rd to January 19th instead of January 20th, because January 19th was a day before her new menstrual cycle began. So you can see that Mrs. Megan had a 28-day cycle length, 30-day cycle, 32, 27, 26, and 32. She had for good 6 months consecutively, she had different cycle lengths with different period dates. Now, in order to know now her cycle, her safe days or her filter window now, we are going to, lest I forget, we can all see that this cycle length all fell within this 21 to 31st to 35, because I said your cycle length should not exceed 35 days and should not be below 21 days. So we can see that this was all the first days of our period, and this was the cycle length, and none of it exceeded 35 days, and none of it went below 21 days, meaning Mrs. Megan now is absolutely normal and okay. It can just be as a result of stress, anxiety, or whatever could make these dates change, but there are some girlies that are just like that. So now, in order to know her filter window and to calculate for her safe days, we are going to be subtracting her shortest cycle from 18 and her longest cycle from 11. So we are going to do this. So we are subtracting shortest cycle. Remember that these are for those with irregular periods. So our shortest, let me write this a little bit shorter. Our shortest cycle, which is our shortest cycle, we have 28, 30, 32, 27, 26, 32. So which day do you think is our shortest cycle here? Absolutely correct. 26 is our shortest cycle. So we'll write down 26. So 26 minus 18. And for her longest cycle, we are subtracting her longest cycle, which is 32, from 11. Sorry, my marker is bad. Don't know if you can see. So this is 32 from 11, 26, from 18. So subtracting your shortest cycle and subtracting your longest cycle is going to help us to calculate Mrs. Megan filter window, or to calculate for her safe days. So now, Mrs. Megan, her shortest cycle, which is 26 days. So subtracting 26 from 18. So 26 from 18 is going to give us 8 days. So we're putting 8 here. And if we subtract our longest cycle, 32 minus 11, what are we having? 32 minus 11. We're having a 21 days. So now, for these 21 days and 8 days, so we are going to calculate it. So remember that okay, let me change this to December, or should I just use the May? Or okay, better for easy calculation. So we are going to be using the month of April, since that's our shortest cycle. So April now, let's just use April for example. So April 17th, Mrs. Megan started seeing her period April 17th. Now remember we subtracted 26 from 18, gave us 8. So we are going to be counting 8 days. So on 17th was our day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, day 8, sorry. So from the first day Mrs. Megan started seeing her period down to 8 days, which is on 24. So from this day 8 now, which is 24th of April, her fertile window begins. So if she should have unprotected cells now from this 24th of this April, her chances of getting pregnant, if having intercourse with unprotected cells with opposite gender, chances of getting pregnant are high. Yes. Now back to our longest cycle, which is subtracting 32 from 11, giving us 21. So we are going to count 21 days. We are still going to go and start from our first day of our menstrual cycle. See, the month or the day of the period does not matter. Don't look at I picked April. I can easily pick December, I can pick January, I can pick May, I can pick any month. So just make sure that you are subtracting your shortest cycle from subtracting your shortest cycle from 18 and your longest cycle from 11. Now to our longest cycle now, which gave us 21. So we're going to be counting 21 days. So this is our day 1, as we earlier mentioned. Day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, my markers. Sorry about that. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So this is 15. We are not yet up to 21 days. So we'll be moving April, May. So we'll be needing calendar for May. So how are we going to do this now? So I'll be erasing this part to try and insert calendar for May. Hope you are following and hope you're understanding. Please take your time, understand. We subtracted our shortest cycle, which is 26 minus 8 to give us 8, and we counted up to the 8, which is when our fertile window begins. And then for our longest cycle, which is 32 minus 11, gave us 21. And we went back to still start counting from the first day that her period begins. Don't even subtract these 8 days we have counted. Include it. So our day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, day 9, day 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And this is 31st. So the month of April. So we will be needing May. So I'll be erasing this part now to insert it so that you can understand. So sorry, I needed to erase the 31st here because April does not run up to 31st. I just checked. I'm sorry about that. So so here now I fixed our May under April, May. Let's manage this. I hope you are getting along and I hope you're understanding. So now this was 14. Remember, we are counting 21 days. So 14, this is day 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So this 21 now, we are asterisk it so we don't get. So from on 17th to 21 of this to day 21, which is 7th of May, was her longest cycle. So when I counted for 8 days, which was her shortest cycle, her 8 days was on 24th of April. And when I counted for her longest cycle, which is 21 days, which is 21, after subtracting 32 from 11, which is 21, was 7th of May. If you see asterisk the 21 and asterisk the 8. So this simply means that from on 24 to 7th of May, yes, if she should have unprotected sexual intercourse within 24 to 7th of May, her chances of getting pregnant are very high. So 24 to 7th of May is a fertile window. Yes. Then every other days like 23, 22, 21, 20th, then 8, 9, 10, these are safe days. So Mrs. Megan's fertile window falls in this range, and Mrs. Megan's safe periods or safe days are other days outside this window period. And remember, in our for those with regular cycle, they don't have a long a fertile window like this. But for those with irregular period, if you take note, that fertile window is very long. This like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 days fertile window. This does not mean that Mrs. Megan all these days she will be ovulating each day. No. This simply means that if, for example, that Mrs. Megan is ovulating on 30th of April, if Mrs. Megan should have, because remember that the sperm has the ability to remain alive in the woman's body for 5 days. So like I earlier mentioned, if she should have sex like on 26, she can get pregnant, because if the egg is released on 30th and she egg is released on 30th, which is her ovulation day, and she has sex on 26, and remember it can survive or be alive for 5 days, so meaning the egg will be able to fertilize the ovary once it's released on 30th, because this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in a situation whereby she does not have unprotected sex and the egg is released on this 30th and there is no sperm to fertilize the egg, before it dissolves back into the body, it simply dissolves back into the body because there was no sperm there to fertilize the egg. So this is Mrs. Megan's fertile window, and older days are Mrs. Megan's safe days. Please take your time, go over it again. Her shortest cycle, subtracting shortest cycle from 18 gives you 8. Her longest cycle from 32, which is 32 from 11 gives you 21. You start counting from the first day of her period to the 8th, you asterisk, then you go for the longest cycle, count your 21 days, and you asterisk. Then from that your 8th to the one your longest cycle also gave you are a fertile window, while other days are safe days. So if you are a couple that is trying to conceive, you should have sexual intercourse within this day, your chances of getting pregnant are very high. But if you are not looking forward to having a baby, you are trying to avoid pregnancy, please avoid having sex any day close to any of these days, because you are likely to ovulate. I hope I'm able to make this video clear. I hope I'm able to answer some of your questions. Please take your time, go over this video and understand. No hurry, feel free to pause and feel free to send in your questions. And I made sure that every person that asked questions under the video, I answered all your questions. So feel free to send me your questions because my inbox is filled up right now. And I'll see you in my next video, guys. Thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.